Thank you very much for this very kind introduction, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I have a rather easy task because a lot of the introduction and framework was already given by my Deputy Director General, so I just have to put in some more detail. I want to speak about our efforts in simplifying the participation in the new program. And as you know, this simplification was one of the main design principles in the Commission proposal for Horizon 2020, and it went along three main dimensions. The first dimension was to try to simplify the structure and the programming. The second one was to simplify the actual rules for participation, the rules of the game. And of course, one third important aspect on which we are still working intensively is the simplification of all the practical aspects of participation. I don't have to dwell very long on the simplification and structure and programming. Just to mention one thing, as concerns these simplification measures, the principles of the Commission proposals were to a very large extent endorsed by the legislator, and they have, so to say, survived the legislative process and are now part of the final decisions on Horizon 2020. So we have heard about the new structure, that we have only one specific program, that we have a clear structure with three main pillars which are even interacting. You have seen all these nice pictures. More focus on societal challenges, more focus on innovation, and removing silos, more possibilities for cross-cutting activities. Coming to the second dimension, the new programming cycle. We started indeed preparing the implementation of Horizon 2020 with a new 3-year strategic programming, which is overlapping and interlinked with a 2-year work program. So we are moving from the annual work program under FP7 to a 2-year planning cycle, making it also easier for the participants to plan ahead and to see what are the calls for proposals coming over a longer period. We will also have, as you will soon see in the first work programs, reduce the number of topics in a given call, so that the character of a topic is much broader and less prescriptive as concerns the precise technology or discipline that you are able to apply for. So we want to leave this more in the hands of the actual applicants. And then we will have special calls on the so-called focus areas, which are particularly dedicated to cutting across the different subdivisions of the program and even cutting across the main pillars of the program. Now coming to the rules of the game, we reversed the principle from FP7 in the sense that now these rules for participation are by default applicable to all actions under the program. In FP7 you might remember that some of the actions were explicitly excluded from the application of the rules. Now all actions are by default included, and only if there are very justified reasons we can have some derogations, but only in exceptional cases. We also have aligned these rules very much to the general EU financial regulation, and you will see when you look at the text of the rules for participation, it's relatively thin. And this is by design, because we specify in these rules for participation only the issues where our policy area has to deviate from the general principles of the financial regulation. So anything you don't find in our rules, you will find by default in the EU financial regulation, which, by the way, also makes it easier for organizations participating in other policy programs. For instance, many universities participate at the same time in the education programs or in the structural fund programs, so that the alignment of the rules across these programs will also be an element of simplification. And by the way, the rules are by default applicable to the Euratom part of Horizon 2020. A major challenge is the time to grant. the financial regulation already provided for a 9-month time to grant. So when we say time to grant, we mean the time from the closure of a call for proposals to the actual signature of the grant agreement. And for Horizon 2020, the Parliament has cut this time by another month, so that our obligation and our common challenge, when I say common, I mean challenge of us together with the applicants and beneficiaries, is to have the last grant in a call signed after 8 months. And this delay is still subdivided in 2 sub-periods. We will have 5 months for telling you the outcome of the scientific evaluation, and then 3 months for actually preparing the grant, with some exceptions. Of course, this does not come very easily. If we look at the figures of today, we have already made big progress in FP7. We started with average time to grants in the order of up to 400 days, and now we are in 2012 on an average at about 270 days, which means 9 months. Now the challenge is to have 240 days, not average, but the last grant signed. So you can maybe feel what the amount of the challenge is. And we have to do something about this. And one major thing that we will do is that we will practically abolish what we today still call the negotiation phase. So we will have to select, together with the experts, those proposals that are actually ready to go, that don't require lengthy further changes, including new partners, exchanging partners, replacing work packages by others or so. All such proposals will in the future be rated with lower scores, and only the ones where the experts tell us, yes, that is a well thought out proposal, all the details have been clarified within the consortium, have a chance of being funded, so that this last phase of grant preparation will be possible within these remaining 3 months. And we will also bring some of the administrative details, checking even to an advanced stage, like the legal entity validation and the financial capacity check. Now on the rules for cost reimbursement, the main simplification there is that we will, in a given project, have only one reimbursement rate, so no differentiation anymore by type of organization, by type of activity. In a given project, you have either 100% funding rate or 70% funding rate, and this is predefined in the work program. It's not a matter of agreeing in the individual project. It is either a topic calling for 100% funded projects or a topic calling for 70% funding project. With one exception introduced by Council, in these innovation closer to market projects, non-profit organizations may also get 100%. So the rule there is 70, but there is this exception. When we come closer to the personnel costs, we will continue our system of accepting average personnel costs, if this is your usual accounting practice. We will also continue with the special unit costs for owner managers of SMEs. We will have less requirements for the time recording. Anyone who is employed to 100% on the project will not have to fill in timesheets. Only persons spending a part of their time on the project. Another element of simplification, VAT. If you cannot recover it in your national scheme, it will be an eligible cost in the future. And we will also no longer have to ask you for reporting on interests gained on pre-financing. So whether you have an interest gaining account or not, whether you gain interest or not, that is no longer of interest, as long as you employ the interest gained for the project. For the indirect costs in FP7, we had 4 methods which nobody really understood, and we have completely changed the system. Indirect costs in Horizon 2020 will be charged by one unique method, which is very simple, which means you have your direct costs, you multiply them by 1/4, and these are your indirect costs. For the controls and audits, we also tried to release the burden to a certain extent. You know that we have to check the financial viability of some of the future participants. In FP7 more, in Horizon 2020 fewer, because in Horizon 2020 it will only be coordinators concerned. Then during the lifetime of the project you have to provide so-called certificates on the financial statements. Currently, every time when you reach 375,000 funding, in the future in Horizon 2020 only one at the end. So this will reduce the number of these certificates by quite a considerable amount. Ex-post audits, Wolfgang Burtscher already mentioned it, we will change the approach there. First thing is that the period after which we can audit projects will be reduced from currently 5 to 2 years. So we can only 2 years after the end of the project come to you and audit your accounts, no longer this long period of 5 years. And the audit strategy will also be changed. It will be focused on risk and on fraud prevention and fraud detection, and not so much anymore on getting the residual net error rate down below 2%. For the so-called extrapolation, the simplifications of the new financial regulation will apply, and the guarantee fund will continue, and it will be extended to actions that are currently not covered, in particular the so-called JETIs, joint undertakings. Coming even more to the very practical details, we will go to a system of complete electronic management of the proposals and grants, with our participant portal as the single gateway for all actions from A to Z. We will have new ways for presenting calls and for allowing you to find funding opportunities. We will also have a new integrated grant management module, which is replacing the currently still very fragmented landscape. Some of you might know these names like Force, Sesam, CPM, PCM, Phoenix, and so on. All this will be the past. It will be replaced by one new system, which will also be used by all the actors, meaning all the Commission Directors General, all the executive agencies, all the joint undertakings implementing the so-called JETIs, so that we will also come to a harmonized way of implementing in the practical details. And last point here, no more blue ink signatures, so even the grant agreement and the amendments will be signed electronically in our system. Maybe a few words on the presentation of the calls for proposals. We will provide two basic ways of navigation, a traditional way where you can still browse through the different parts of the program, and a very novel way where you will be able to search for topics without even knowing the exact structures of the program, where you just go with your scientific ideas. And if we can switch to the other slides for a moment, I could give you a preview on how it would look like. Yes. So that is a screenshot of the new version of the participant portal as it will come live in December. And one of the high-level entries is the so-called funding opportunities, which will guide you to such a page. And the traditional way of finding your way is you go to a page called Horizon 2020 Calls, and which will list all the open calls for proposals. But here you still need a bit of expert knowledge, because you have to know in which corner of the program your field of interest is. And therefore we have this new way of navigating where there's simply a search engine behind. You put in a free keyword and the machine will search in all the topic texts, but also in a collection of metadata tags behind all those topics, and will try to match your scientific interest with all the topics in the program. And then if you click on the search, you get a list of topics, which can be a mixture of topics from many different calls. So in this practical example, any topic that might remotely be related to climate change will be listed in this. And then you can skim over it, and if you find a topic that seems interesting to you, you go into the details of this topic. it will present you all the details starting from the that's actually the page, from the challenge, the scope, the expected impact. You can then go down to the conditions for applying eligibility, evaluation criteria, and so on. And finally, there is the path directly into the submission system. The final thing you have to do is to choose your type of action, your project type, and then you click on Start Submission, and you land in the proposal submission system. Can we go back to the other slides? So it will be the last 2 slides, or 3. A few more words about this new integrated grant management module. This is again the preview slide of the new participant portal version. When you are logged in with your credentials and you go to the function that is called My Projects, you will receive a list of all the projects in which you are somehow involved. This will be, by the way, a mixture of FP7 and Horizon 2020 projects. So if you are involved still in old and in new projects, you will see them all together. And then if you have a Horizon 2020 project and go into the details of one project, you will land in this new integrated grant management module. And here the main principles are that you are presented with a full file of your project, covering all the interactions that ever took place in this project, starting with the proposal as it was submitted, and then all the other interactions. It's organized by processes. You can look into ongoing processes, past processes, upcoming processes. And when you go into one of these processes, you will have a library with all the documents that were exchanged, and you will also have kind of a chat area where you can exchange informal information with the Commission project officer. And all this will create real transparency because it's available in the same way to the back office, meaning to our project officers and to everybody involved in your project, so that all partners in the consortium are on the same level of information as concerns the implementation of the project. So my final slide, I hope I have shown you that we have achieved already something in terms of simplification, structure and programming, simplification of the rules, and I also already put a green tick to the simplification of implementation, although there we are still working very intensively, and we will have to work on the further steps in the months and years to come. Many thanks for your attention.